Right. So in the last session, what we were talking about, why do we automate, isn't it? So we discussed, I mean, three most important things. So most important reason why do we do that? First is we need to save cost. We don't want to keep on adding numbers, number of people, number of testers who can test it. We cannot have any team where you have 50 testers, 100 testers, right? Because you can't do that. You can't afford that, as simple as that. Second is you want to improve the time to market, right? You want to do the testing fast. You don't want to kind of wait for manual person to test it, right? And he will deliver the result in the next day when it can be done in a single hour. And this is the frequency, guys, I'm telling you. Maybe a person is doing it in 2 hours, but a automation testing or automation test can do it in minutes. So that is a times amount of time you can save when you implement automation, right? Third is accuracy, which really is something which you can get from if you properly impart the intelligence, if you properly provide the intelligence to the robot, uh, then your robot is very successful in identifying defects. But the caveat here is properly, right? And that's where the difference between a good automation tester and a bad automation tester comes, because in the market still you will go in the people who are still working, they think and they project and they work as in an automation testing capacity, but really they are not good at that job. Why? Because they're just not able to write good enough test, right? Sometimes people just code for the sake of coding, that I am creating automation test, right? But if that test is brittle, the test is flaky, the test is not really capturing any defect, it has loopholes, for example, it is not really validating anything, or what it should validate, it is not validating that, then it becomes a bad automation test. What else can go wrong? Automation framework. Because automation test is an entity, it might be pretty much early for you guys to understand what I'm talking about in terms of frameworks and tests. But what really happens is we have a framework inside, we have an automation framework, and inside automation framework we would have test cases being built. If you're writing a bad test case inside a good framework, often it's of no use. If you have a good test case inside a bad framework, again, no, not a good use, right? And of course, if both are bad, it's like complete piece of junk, right? So what we really need to do is, what I really have to do for you guys is to make you a good automation tester, for which we need to learn many things, and it usually takes time, as well as we need to get that level of efforts from you as well. Only after that I could or you could ensure that, yeah, you have become a good automation tester. Of course, you will also have to gain a lot of testing knowledge also, that also we will do in time to time. All right. uh, anyway, I digressed a little bit here in this slide. So in this slide, the scope was to tell you that why really do we have a need to automate. And I think I've made justice to this argument. I've tried to explain we have three primary reasons to do that. Okay. Now, again, the same thing. We want to save time. We want to reduce cost, find more defects compared to humans, so that when you sleep, a machine tests your software. I mean, machine start test your software for you 24/7. Okay, we already discussed that. Okay, now you might will be asking, as I have written at the in the header section. Okay, got it. What do we need to start? So you all should be saying, okay, I got what you're trying to explain. We have bought it now. What do we need to start? What should we do? To start with it, in the beginning, I displayed a slide where I said everything works inside Java, right? So Selenium is a tool. The thing is, everyone knows Selenium, so I'm referring to Selenium first. So Selenium is a tool, is a jar which has no existence of itself. It's just the compilation of a code written in Java. If you are using Java, of course, in this case, in this course, we will be using Java. So it's a library written in Java, and that can you can only make use of it by pulling it inside a Java environment, right? And how will you get a Java environment? It is by installing JDK. Okay. Now it has two parts that I'll talk about. But first of all, JDK is important because JDK is required to compile your code. JRE is required to execute your code. So when you install JDK, JRE comes with it. So you don't have to worry about it. JRE is useful for the people who don't want to automate anything. They want to run the automation test. So there are two components here. One is you want to run something, you want to create something. So you are a developer of the automation script, right? You act as a developer. So since you are a developer, you need this development kit with you. So this is what you install first, and when install it, JRE is automatically comes with it, so no issues there. For the person, let's say you want to run your whatever you have created, you want to run it on your father's machine or your sister's machine, then they don't need JDK, they need JRE. So all they need is JRE. If they have JRE, you're good to go. You can deploy your code in their machine and they can actually run it. Okay, so that's the difference between JDK and JRE. Now, once you install JDK, then you need Eclipse. Eclipse is nothing but an IDE, integrated development environment. That's where you write code. I mean, you don't necessarily need to have it. You can even write Java code in a notepad, right? But that is tough business because lot of tools, lot of things which make things easy while writing Java code, you will not get it in notepad. So you need to have Eclipse. Then you have Maven, basically. So Maven I'll skip for now. Again, it's a Java concept of handling dependencies and build processes, etc., etc. So don't worry too much about it. For now, just to start with, you need these two things, right? Then you will need few more things once you get familiarized with this Eclipse and JDK, Java Development Kit. You would need few more things like Git, right? This is for storing your code. So when you write something and you want to, and let's say two people want to contribute to the same code, which usually happens in a team, isn't it? Then you need to find a way to collaborate with between yourself and your team. So you need some kind of tool which is available in the form of Git. Okay, you must have heard about Git or GitHub. Okay, or maybe if you have heard about Linux, you have heard about Linux system. On Linux system creator, his name is Linus, I think Leo Linus. He is the creator of Linux, and he is the one who created Git. So both of these things are his creation. He's a kind of a god basically in IT world, computer world, of course, right? So he created Git, and it's being widely accepted and used. So we need to learn this as well. Then we have open source Java libraries, Selenium, Cucumber, SSO, and then comes these things. So first of all, you need to get very familiarized with Eclipse and JDK, and by JDK I also mean Java, without which it becomes really hard for you to become a good automation tester. I mean, you can become an automation tester. It's easy to do it, right? You go to Udemy and you can become a good automation or become an automation tester in one month also. But there will be a difference between good automation tester and a simple automation tester or a bad automation tester, if I may say so, right? And that takes experience and work and efforts from your side that we will talk about later. Okay, so first of all, the primary thing which you need to do is to do things. So even before you want to learn it, you will need to install it and download it. So these are links available in this slide. I'll make this slide available to you. I've also posted in the group. Sarang also have posted it. So you will get the links from our site. It's not very difficult to do, but you will just, if you face any difficulty in how to do that, you just let us know. I'll tell you. I'll guide you what needs to be done. But first of all, most importantly, you need to install Java 8 first and then Eclipse. Don't install Eclipse first and then Java 8. You might face few difficulties. It's not that can't be done, but you might face few issues. Sometimes people face it. So it's common sense to, because Eclipse need Java to work, right? So you should be doing it first. Right. So I'll take another 5 or maybe 10 minutes to go through more slides, and then we'll call it a day perhaps. Okay, because I don't want you to be like flooded with a lot of information today itself. So I'll talk about this JDK, JRE, JVM, and maybe classes and objects, and then we'll call it day. Now, JDK, JRE, JVM, I already kind of talked about it a little bit in the previous slide. So JDK, you need to develop something. Like, instead of saying that, I should say, when you go and say I need to have Java installed on my system, you might mean two things. One is either you are saying I need JDK installed on my system, or you are saying I need JRE installed with my system, right? So your father or sister will have to install JRE if you want they want to run the Java code. You, if you want to kind of develop the Java code, you will be downloading JDK. And if you are downloading JDK, then you will also get JRE and JVM with it. So within JDK, you will also have JRE and JVM. Now JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. This is a machine in which your code which you write actually gets executed. So here it's written JDK converts source code to bytecode. That's all it does. So when you write something in English format, of course syntactically correct in Java, when you write syntaxes in English in Java editor such as Eclipse, they gets converted to a specified format called as bytecode, and that bytecode goes inside JVM, and JVM then interacts with the machine level or assembly level code, and your code gets executed on the machine hardware, and then it will pick it from there and will display you the result. So JVM is the machine, as the name suggests, Java virtual machine. Virtual means fake, not real. So this virtual machine executes your Java code, and because of this feature of Java virtual machine, Java is also said to be called as platform independent, because irrespective of on what operating system you're executing it, it could be Mac, Unix, Linux, not Unix, Linux, or Windows, or if there is any other operating system. I'm not a uh, great person to have such knowledge on how many operating system we have. Irrespective of what operating system you are using, if you have Java installed, you will be able to execute this code, irrespective of where and what machine you're writing it. Okay. So JDK, GRE, JVM, this is the relationship. I would still recommend you have to go and read about it. So these PPTs and my explanation should not be enough. You also will have to go about and read this a lot on your own as well. And when you do that, then you get a lot of insights as well as questions and doubts, and then you ask it, and then I answer, and that's the great way to learn. Now I'll go back to this slide, classes and objects. I'll not go beyond this because again, I don't know how sleepy you guys are feeling. It's already post lunch session, so I can understand the pain. Yeah, so classes and objects. So this is a kind of concept of object oriented programming paradigm, right? Prior to that, object oriented programming, we had different types of languages available like C, right? Fortran, they all were called as, I think, procedural languages. Even still, there are languages which are kind of procedural and don't follow full object-oriented programming. For example, VB script. I think in some way JavaScript as well. I'm not very sure, but JavaScript also doesn't support all the object-oriented programming principles. Right. So all these classes and objects basically is about how you can implement the object-oriented programming concepts in a language. So classes and objects. Classes. If you are from computer background, you will have some idea about it. If you're not, then I will try to explain. It's not a huge concept to understand. So classes are the categories, and objects are their live picture, the live instantiation, you can say. On a plain word, car, it's a abstract concept, it's a template, right? It's a category. Car is a category, but these individual items like my car, like I have a car, so this is a car, this I can see that car, right? I can drive it. That becomes an object of category car, like Benz, Ferrari, Peter's, Porsche, right? So all of these are examples of objects, but they all belong to a specific category called as car, right? So you can understand this as an a template or as a blueprint, right? Simply, for example, human. Here it is person, right? Human. We all are human, right? But we all are actually we are actually real, right? So we all are instantiation or realization of that class called as human, right? So maybe something like, if God wanted to create us, what he must have done in the beginning was to create a class called as human. He would not have started like, let's create Akash, let's create Yuvraj, let's create Sarang, right? No, he first wrote the instructions, the category, the template, how a human should look. What is a human? what characteristics a human should possess, right? So that it becomes a human category or entity, right? And once once God has written its template or category of how a human should be created, then he would pass it to its factories, perhaps. Okay, this is the template, this is the blueprint, this is the category, just start making people based on this specification, right? So these are the difference between what is a class and what is an object. I think I tried to make myself clear about it. But in case you still don't get it, of course, you can ask, or the concept will get clearer the more you work on it. The clearer the concept would become. It's not rocket science. Okay. Okay. So I'll not go beyond this slide. Anyone has any concern, questions to ask? No. Okay. I'll stop the share as well as recording, and then we can.